What's on your radar, Ryan?
Well, Wisconsin Republicans are now taking aim at the state's bipartisan Elections Commission, urged on by Senator Ron Johnson, who argues the state legislature needs to seize the power to oversee elections for itself. Now, even though Wisconsin has a Democratic governor and lieutenant governor, and the state went for Joe Biden in 2020, Republicans have an essentially insurmountable majority in the state legislature thanks to gerrymandering, and their latest gerrymander proposal would make it that much more extreme and imbalanced. Without even winning a majority of the vote, Republicans can still control some 60% of the seats in the legislature. So given that gerrymander, Democrats can continue to win at the statewide level, but still never control the legislature. And so coincidentally, Republicans are now proposing that control of the statewide elections be turned over actually to the legislature that they've rigged to control with a minority of votes. That's the raw power move at work. But the American people still have a cultural belief that elections ought to be fair. So Republicans can't just say they want the legislature to control elections because they control the legislature. They need a rationale. And for that, they say that they have to have full control over the vote counting and election rules because Democrats can't be trusted not to cheat. Ron Johnson said in the New York Times article, "Do I expect Democrats to follow the rules? Unfortunately, I probably don't expect them to follow the rules. And other people don't either, and that's the problem." Now, asked for specific instances of voter fraud Democrats have committed, they cite Racine County Sheriff Christopher Schmeling, who recently called for 5 of the 6 members of the Election Commission to be arrested. The sheriff wants them prosecuted for a 5-to-1 vote they took in March 2020. Now, under Wisconsin law, if an election worker makes 2 attempts to deliver a ballot to a nursing home resident and both are unsuccessful, then the county clerk can mail them a ballot. The commission reasoned that in the midst of a pandemic, there was no way that election workers could get inside every nursing home since they were locked down to outside visitors, and nor was it worth the public health risk to try, given that so many of the deaths from COVID have come in nursing homes. The commission has 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, and 2 of the Republicans voted with the 3 Democrats to approve the policy, and nobody really made a fuss at all, actually, until Trump lost. Now, from the commission's perspective, the 2 options were either to disenfranchise everybody or almost everybody living in a nursing home, or to make an exception for a pandemic year. It's not surprising that 2 of the 3 Republicans agreed that the pandemic required making an exception. Poll workers simply were not going to be allowed inside nursing homes. So the sheriff held a press conference recently laying out what he said were the commission's crimes. He had gone to a nursing home in his county after getting a complaint from the daughter of a resident, and this is what he uncovered, he said.
The recreational therapy director actually told me if a resident could only point at the ballot, that's what the employee of the facility would mark. If all they could do was point, the employee would mark wherever, I guess, they pointed.
So anybody who spent time in nursing facilities knows that the approach that he described, even as he framed it as negatively as possible, is a totally reasonable way to get an answer from a resident who has a hard time talking. This sheriff was elected in the Tea Party wave of 2010, and he's a proud Trump supporter, but he swears politics had nothing to do with his decision to publicly call for 5 of the 6 commissioners to be arrested. But if it's true that the sheriff discovered real fraud in Racine County, it should show up in the final vote tally. So let's take a look here. In 2016, Trump won the county by 4,099 votes. In 2020, Trump won Racine County by 4,321 votes. So according to this sheriff, these criminal commissioners, which remember includes 2 Republicans, broke the law as part of a scheme that resulted in Donald Trump doing better in the sheriff's county in 2020 than Trump did in that same county in 2016 when he won the state. So this whole thing would be hilarious if this wasn't the very thing that Republicans are now trying to use to eliminate the commission and give power over elections to a gerrymandered state legislature.
The United States Constitution clearly states that the only body that can create or change elections laws is the legislature of the state.
What makes this whole thing even more foul is that Ron Johnson himself, who's now leading this charge, knows full well that there wasn't any serious fraud in the election. In August, he was approached by Lauren Windsor, who was posing as a Trump supporter, pushing Johnson to stand up for Trump and declare the election stolen. Not realizing he was being filmed, Johnson proceeded to give a shockingly reasonable answer.
Look at the totals. It's certainly plausible. There's nothing obviously skewed about the results. There isn't.
There's nothing skewed about the results.
About the results in Wisconsin. No, I'm not saying what's happening in Maricopa County. I don't know the same thing. Look at the number again. Collectively.
Come on, Wisconsin and Georgia and Arizona.
Listen. You're not listening.
I am listening.
So listen. Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes. 51,000 more votes than Trump got. Trump lost by 20,000. If Trump got all the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the Assembly candidates, he would have won. He didn't get 51,000 votes that other Republicans got. That's why he lost.
Okay.
Once that video was published, Johnson got skewered from his right. He had committed the cardinal MAGA sin, speaking two forbidden truths. Trump lost, and it was his own fault. And so, now, after he's gotten attacked for saying that the election was fair, somebody has to pay the price. It's not going to be Johnson. He's not going to pay the price. So the election commission's going to pay the price. Just got to get rid of this election commission.
Yeah, I mean, getting more, making it easier or making it less likely that you would miss votes from people in nursing homes. How is that obviously benefiting the Democratic Party? Older voters are probably more likely to be Republicans. So and you showed that there was actually an increase in the total for Trump.
Yes.
It's, I mean, the election, stuff is just so, on the right is just so crazy and so poisonous and so self-defeating because Trump and his most inflexible partisan supporters are ultimately discouraging their own people from voting or making them suspicious about even participating in this process to their own detriment. And Republican officials are privately very concerned about that, and they speaking up about it now and then.
Like Ron Johnson.
Haunting whispers, yes.
Like Ron Johnson when he thought he wasn't on camera.
Yeah. Trump's message is, I won, it's rigged, don't vote. What a great message for Democrats to embrace.
But you make a really good point about the motivation there. Because, and it goes to the way that people aren't thinking to the second and third step of these allegations. It's like, okay, so these Democrats and Republicans said, made it easier to vote in nursing homes. Wait, you're right. It would have been, Democrats had the law behind them and could have been like, look, hey, these are the rules. I'm sorry. If the election worker, can't make those 2 attempts, then we can't mail these old white people about in Wisconsin. We're very sorry. We don't know who these people are going to vote for. But you know what? Real shame. But these are the laws in the books. Instead, the Democrats, process lovers that they are, and enfranchisement lovers that they are, like, okay, look, this is absurd. We're not going to try to force our way into these nursing homes, just to get told we can't come in. Just send everybody the ballot and have them fill it out. And so I guess the allegation would be that the nursing home workers themselves are part of a Democratic conspiracy. But if you look at the voter participation rate of people in the working class who are working at nursing homes, et cetera, it's very hard to get working class people and anybody in this country to vote.
Right.
Like our voter, we had what, 25% turnout in Virginia, and everybody's like, wow, massive turnout.
Right.
Nobody cares about elections.
Right.
And certainly nobody cares about elections enough that they're going to not just vote themselves, but that they're going to organize, some massive conspiracy inside a nursing home. Well,
and the conspiracy looks false every day because Republicans can and do and they win. Right. There were a lot of Republicans who won. They won killed in Racine County. Right. They're winning everywhere. Their prospects look very good. There's no vast conspiracy. The only person struggling to win as a Republican is Donald Trump for the obvious reason that he is more reviled and more disliked than basically by the broader public, not by the most conservative Republican primary voters, but by the broader public, he is more disliked than any other Republican official.
And that's the point that Ron Johnson made, that 50,000 people in Wisconsin voted Republican, but left the presidential line blank because they just couldn't vote for Trump.
Yeah.
If those 50,000, if 23,000 of those 50,000, voted for Trump. He wins Wisconsin. Cheating and all.
It's a lesson of the party. Do some gatekeeping. The presidency can be yours. Just tell this man no for once in your lives.
Or just get rid of the election commission and let the state legislature declare who won Wisconsin. Those are your two choices. But I'm looking forward to your radar up next.